Why you were never chosen. You were available. This distinction matters because chosen and available are different categories, operate under different principles, create different relationships. Chosen means selected from options. Available means present when needed. Chosen is active selection. Available is passive acceptance. And passive acceptance isn't active selection. Being there isn't being wanted. Presence isn't preference. Understanding why you were available instead of chosen explains what you thought you had, what actually existed, what relationship was built on. Most men don't distinguish between being chosen and being available. Think being with someone means being chosen by someone. Think relationship existing means selection happened. But relationship can exist without selection. Connection can happen without choice. Being together can occur without being chosen. You were available when she needed someone available. Present when she required someone present. There when she wanted someone there. And being available when needed isn't being chosen when wanted. Being present when required isn't being selected when desired. Being there when necessary isn't being preferred when deciding. This distinction isn't semantic, isn't minor, isn't insignificant. This distinction is fundamental, is structural, is definitional of what relationship is. Relationship built on choice is different from relationship built on availability. Connection based on selection is different from connection based on presence. Being together through preference is different from being together through timing. Why this matters? Why understanding this changes everything? Why recognizing difference is critical? Because chosen relationships operate differently than available relationships. Selected connections function differently than present connections. Preferred partnerships work differently than timing partnerships. When you're chosen, you're wanted specifically. When you're available, you're accepted generally. When you're selected, you're desired particularly. When you're present, you're convenient practically. And specific wanting creates different dynamic than general acceptance. Particular desire generates different bond than practical convenience. Preference establishes different foundation than timing. Foundation determines everything that builds on it. Dynamic shapes everything that develops from it. Bond influences everything that grows within it. Wrong foundation creates unstable structure. Wrong dynamic produces fragile connection. Wrong bond generates temporary relationship. You thought relationship was built on choice, was built on availability. Thought connection was based on selection, was based on timing. Thought partnership was founded on preference, was founded on convenience. And building on wrong foundation means building something that appears stable but isn't stable, seems solid but isn't solid, looks permanent but isn't permanent. Why you were available instead of chosen has specific reasons, specific mechanics, specific processes, not because you're inadequate, because timing aligned, not because you're insufficient, because presence matched need, not because you're less than, because availability met requirement. Being available isn't deficiency, is circumstance, isn't failure, is timing, isn't flaw, is positioning. You were in right place at right time, being right state, right place meaning accessible, right time meaning when she needed, right state meaning available. She needed someone, you were someone. She needed available. You were available, she needed present, you were present. Need met availability. Availability met need. Match created relationship. But match based on need and availability is different from match based on desire and choice. Connection through requirement and presence is different from connection through wanting and selection. Why desire and choice create different relationship than need and availability. Desire is specific, need is general. Desire wants particular person. Need wants functional person. Desire seeks unique individual. Need seeks available individual. When relationship begins from desire, it's about who you are. When relationship begins from need, it's about what you provide. When connection starts from wanting, it's about your uniqueness. When connection starts from requiring, it's about your functionality. Being wanted for who you are creates different bond than being needed for what you provide. Being desired for uniqueness establishes different foundation than being required for functionality. Choice operates similarly to desire. Choice selects specific person from options. Availability accepts present person from circumstance. Choice is active decision, involving comparison. Availability is passive acceptance, involving timing. When you're chosen, you are compared to alternatives and selected. When you're available, you are present when needed and accepted. Being selected after comparison creates different dynamic than being accepted through presence. Winning selection process establishes different relationship than meeting availability requirement. This is why chosen versus available distinction is fundamental, is structural, is definitional. Chosen means you specifically mattered. Available means someone generally mattered. Chosen means your particularity was relevant. Available means your presence was sufficient. And particularity creating relationship is different from presence creating relationship. Specificity generating connection is different from availability generating connection. Most men never examine how relationship began, never question what initiated connection, never analyze what created partnership. They assume being in relationship means being chosen for relationship. Assume connection existing means selection happened. Assume partnership present means preference occurred. But these assumptions aren't always accurate, aren't necessarily true, aren't automatically valid. Many relationships begin through availability, not choice, through timing, not selection, through presence, not preference. And beginning determines trajectory, origin shapes development, foundation influences everything built upon it. Relationship that begins through availability tends to continue through availability. Connection that starts through timing tends to maintain through timing. Partnership that originates through presence tends to sustain through presence. You are available at beginning. You remain available throughout. You continue being available until end. And being available throughout creates specific pattern, specific dynamic, specific relationship type. Available relationships have characteristics that distinguish them from chosen relationships, have patterns that reveal their origin, have dynamics that expose their foundation. She contacts you when she needs you, doesn't contact you when she doesn't need you, reaches out when requiring something, doesn't reach out when not requiring. Contact pattern reveals availability foundation. Reaching out pattern exposes need basis. Communication rhythm shows functional relationship. If you were chosen, communication would be desire-based, not need-based, would be wanting-based, not requiring-based, would be preference-driven, not necessity-driven. But communication follows need pattern, follows requirement rhythm, follows necessity schedule. This reveals relationship built on availability, built on timing, built on presence meeting need. She's engaged when you're useful, disengaged when you're not useful, attentive when you're serving function, inattentive when function is served. Engagement pattern reveals functional foundation. Attention rhythm exposes availability basis. Presence dynamic shows need-based relationship. If you were chosen, engagement would be consistent, not functional. Attention would be ongoing, not utility-based. Presence would be continuous, not need-driven. But engagement follows utility pattern. Attention follows function rhythm. Presence follows need schedule. She maintains you as option while exploring options. Keeps you available while seeking preferable. Preserves you as backup while searching for primary. Optionality pattern reveals you're available, not chosen. Exploration dynamic exposes you're present, not preferred. Backup status shows you're accepted, not selected. If you were chosen, exploration would end, optionality would close, backup status wouldn't exist. But exploration continues, optionality remains, backup status persists. These patterns aren't accusations, aren't attacks, aren't judgments. These patterns are indicators, are evidence, are revelations of relationship foundation. Patterns reveal truth that words might hide. Behaviors expose reality that claims might obscure. Dynamics show foundation that appearance might disguise. Why being available creates these patterns. Why need-based relationships function this way. Why timing partnerships operate under these dynamics. Because available relationships are fundamentally transactional, are essentially functional, are basically utilitarian. Transaction means exchange. You provide availability, and she provides relationship. You offer presence, and she offers connection. You give functionality, and she gives partnership. But transaction isn't intimacy. Exchange isn't love. Utility isn't desire. Transactional relationship continues as long as transaction is favorable. Functional connection maintains as long as function is needed. Utilitarian partnership persists as long as utility is required. When transaction stops being favorable, relationship ends. When function stops being needed, connection dissolves. When utility stops being required, partnership terminates. This is why available relationships are inherently unstable, fundamentally temporary, essentially conditional. They exist as long as availability is needed, continue as long as presence is required, persist as long as functionality is useful. When better availability appears, relationship shifts. When more convenient presence emerges, connection transfers. When superior functionality becomes accessible, partnership changes. You're replaceable in available relationship, substitutable in timing connection, exchangeable in presence partnership. Because relationship isn't about you specifically, is about availability generally, isn't about your uniqueness, is about your functionality, isn't about who you are, is about what you provide. And what you provide can be provided by others. Functionality you offer can be offered by alternatives. Availability you present can be presented by substitutes. If you were chosen, you would be irreplaceable, would be unique, would be specifically necessary. Because chosen relationship is about who you are. Selected connection is about your particularity. Preferred partnership is about your uniqueness. Who you are can't be replaced. Particularity can't be substituted. Uniqueness can't be exchanged. But availability can be replaced. Functionality can be substituted. Presence can be exchanged. Why understanding this matters? Why recognizing this changes everything? Why seeing this transforms perspective? Because understanding prevents confusion. Recognizing prevents misinterpretation. Seeing prevents false assumptions. If you understand you're available, you won't confuse availability with choice, won't misinterpret presence as preference, won't assume functionality means selection. You'll know relationship is conditional. Connection is transactional. Partnership is utilitarian. And knowing prevents surprise when relationship ends, prevents confusion when connection dissolves, prevents shock when partnership terminates. Available relationships end when availability is no longer needed. Timing connections dissolve when timing no longer aligns. Presence partnerships terminate when presence is no longer required. Ending isn't betrayal, is completion, isn't violation, is natural conclusion, isn't unexpected, is predictable outcome. Transaction completed, function fulfilled, utility exhausted. Relationship that began through availability ends when availability stops being valuable. Connection that started through timing ends when timing stops being favorable. Partnership that originated through presence ends when presence stops being necessary. Most men are devastated by these endings because they thought they had something different. Believed relationship was different type. Assumed connection was different foundation. They thought they were chosen. They were available. Thought they were selected. They were present. Thought they were preferred. They were convenient. And discovering truth after years creates devastation. Recognizing reality after investment creates pain. Seeing foundation after commitment creates suffering. But truth was always there. Reality was always present. Foundation was always visible. Patterns showed it. Dynamics revealed it. Behaviors exposed it. Contact pattern was need-based. Engagement rhythm was functional. Optionality status was maintained. All evidence pointed to available relationship. All indicators suggested timing connection. All signs revealed presence partnership. But evidence was ignored. Indicators were dismissed. Signs were explained away. Because accepting available reality is painful. Acknowledging timing foundation is difficult. Recognizing presence basis is uncomfortable. Easier to believe in choice. Simpler to assume selection. More comfortable to think preference. But belief doesn't change reality. Assumption doesn't alter truth. Thinking doesn't transform foundation. You were available whether you believed you were chosen or not. Were present whether you assumed you were selected or not. Were convenient whether you thought you were preferred or not. Reality operates independently of belief. Truth exists regardless of assumption. Foundation remains despite thinking. Why you were available instead of chosen comes down to specific factors, specific circumstances, specific realities. You were accessible when she needed accessible. You were present when she required present. You were available when she wanted available. She wasn't seeking specific person, was seeking available person. Wasn't looking for unique individual, was looking for present individual. Wasn't wanting particular partner, was wanting functional partner. Her need was general, not specific. Her requirement was functional, not personal. Her want was available, not unique. And general need gets met by available person. Functional requirement gets satisfied by present person. Available want gets fulfilled by convenient person. You fulfilled role. Satisfied requirement, met need. Role can be filled by anyone with availability. Requirement can be satisfied by anyone with functionality. Need can be met by anyone with presence. This isn't about your value, is about relationship foundation, isn't about your worth, is about connection basis, isn't about your quality, is about partnership origin. You could be exceptional person and still be available in relationship. Could be valuable individual and still be present in connection. Could be worthy partner and still be convenient in partnership. Being available doesn't mean being worthless. Being present doesn't mean being valueless. Being convenient doesn't mean being inadequate. Means relationship began through timing, not choice. Connection started through availability, not selection. Partnership originated through presence, not preference. And timing-based relationship is different from choice-based relationship. Availability-based connection is different from selection-based connection. Presence-based partnership is different from preference-based partnership. Different doesn't mean lesser, means different foundation, different dynamics, different trajectory. Understanding difference allows accurate assessment, proper expectation, realistic perspective. If you know relationship is available-based, you can decide if available-based is acceptable, if timing-based is sufficient, if presence-based is tolerable. Some men accept available relationship, knowing it's available. Accept timing connection, understanding its timing. Accept presence partnership, recognizing its presence. They know it's conditional. They accept it's transactional. They understand it's functional. And accepting reality allows operating within reality. Understanding foundation allows building appropriate expectations. Recognizing basis allows maintaining accurate perspective. Other men reject available relationship once recognizing it's available. Leave timing connection once understanding its timing. Exit presence partnership once seeing its presence. They want chosen relationship, want selected connection, want preferred partnership, and wanting chosen means leaving available. Wanting selected means exiting present, wanting preferred means rejecting convenient. Both responses are valid. Both choices are acceptable. Both decisions are reasonable. What's not reasonable is confusing available with chosen, misunderstanding present as selected, misinterpreting convenient as preferred. Confusion creates false expectations. Misunderstanding generates wrong assumptions. Misinterpretation produces inappropriate hopes. False expectations lead to disappointment. Wrong assumptions lead to confusion. Inappropriate hopes lead to devastation. You expected chosen relationship behavior. You had available relationship reality. You assumed selected connection dynamics. You experienced present connection patterns. You hoped for preferred partnership treatment. You received convenient partnership interactions. Gap between expectation and reality creates suffering. Distance between assumption and truth generates pain. Space between hope and experience produces devastation. Why you were never chosen, you were available, explains gap, explains distance, explains space, explains why what you expected didn't happen, why what you assumed wasn't true, why what you hoped didn't materialize. Because expectations were based on wrong foundation, assumptions were built on incorrect basis, hopes were established on false premise. Foundation was available, not chosen. Basis was present, not selected. Premise was convenient, not preferred. And available foundation creates available dynamics. Present basis generates present patterns. Convenient premise produces convenient behaviors. These dynamics, patterns, behaviors all align with available relationship. All match timing connection. All correspond to presence partnership. They don't align with chosen relationship. Don't match selected connection. Don't correspond to preferred partnership. Misalignment between expectation and reality reveals foundation error. Shows basis mistake, exposes premise incorrectness. You thought foundation was choice. Foundation was availability. Thought basis was selection. Basis was timing. Thought premise was preference. Premise was convenience. And operating on wrong foundation guarantees confusion. Building on wrong basis ensures disappointment. Proceeding on wrong premise creates devastation. This is why understanding why you are available instead of chosen matters so much, changes so much, affects so much. Understanding corrects foundation. Recognizing adjusts basis. Seeing fixes premise. Correct foundation allows accurate expectations. Adjusted basis generates proper assumptions. Fixed premise establishes realistic hopes. Accurate expectations prevent disappointment. Proper assumptions prevent confusion. Realistic hopes prevent devastation. You were never chosen, you were available. And being available means specific things. Creates specific dynamics. Generates specific outcomes. Understanding these specifics allows navigation, allows decision, allows choice. Choice to accept available and operate accordingly. Choice to reject available and seek chosen. Choice to understand reality and respond appropriately. But confusion prevents choice. Misunderstanding blocks decision. Misinterpretation stops navigation. You can't choose appropriately when you don't understand accurately. Can't decide properly when you don't see clearly. Can't navigate successfully when you don't recognize correctly. Why you are available instead of chosen is fundamental question, is essential inquiry, is critical examination. Answer reveals relationship foundation, exposes connection basis, shows partnership premise, and foundation determines structure. Basis shapes dynamics, premise influences outcomes, wrong foundation creates unstable structure, incorrect basis generates problematic dynamics. False premise produces disappointing outcomes. You were available, and available creates conditional relationship, temporary connection, functional partnership. Conditional relationship ends when conditions change. Temporary connection dissolves when timing shifts. Functional partnership terminates when function completes. This is nature of available relationship. Reality of timing connection. Truth of presence partnership. Nature doesn't change because you want it to. Reality doesn't shift because you believe differently. Truth doesn't alter because you hope otherwise. Available remains available. Timing remains timing. Presence remains presence until you exit available and find chosen. Leave timing and discover selected. Reject presence and locate preferred. Or until you accept available and operate accordingly. Embrace timing and function appropriately. Acknowledge presence and behave realistically. Why you were never chosen, you were available, explains everything.